So I'm trying to explain to this magistrate at this pretrial that nothing is valid that Nick has stated in his motion. There is no reason for him to even bring a motion once again for custody. I also explain that I have been dealing with identity theft, fraud, that has impacted my business, that I created alone, stalking, harassment. I let the magistrate know this. This magistrate then asked me to bring information to prove that. No, actually, you can check, or Nick's attorney can prove anything he's stating, because he's the one who's actually making some claims. So given the fact that he doesn't actually have any evidence of anything that he is claiming, why would I have to go out of my way? And he sets up a time for the guardian ad litem, who happens to be the same guardian ad litem, conveniently, the second guardian ad litem that was appointed, that was completely unnecessary, that Nick requested. Has him come out to do a home evaluation. Set the date up to do their little mental eval. They're completely unfounded, unnecessary mental eval. Okay? Keep in mind, I've never had a history of mental or emotional disturbances. Never. Not one time. I've been on my own since I was 16, with no support or help from really anyone. I'm an actual victim sitting there that the Cuyahoga County Family Court is treating like this. And Nick was just loving it. The smirk on this vile creature's face, the smirk on his face, it's disgusting. It truly was so gross. It truly was so gross to sit there in a family courtroom and know that they are enabling somebody who is deeply sick and deeply wounded to continue to use a courtroom, a magistrate, an attorney, use that whole situation as a weapon. They themselves are being used. But see, it's transactional for them, right? They're not actually there to follow through with any kind of justice or anything. At this point, like I said, they've already signed an order for emergency custody, which was highly inappropriate. This magistrate, who never actually met with me, never actually even served me a court date. His attorney, who never actually returned my phone call, and had she done so, she would have already had the information that would have disproven everything that she wrote into the motion to be able to file the case in the first place. But she already knew this. So I set up the appointment with the guardian ad litem. I set up the mental eval. I go through, I do all of that. Now at this mental eval, initially I recognized the face of the lady. Her name is Joy. I recognized her face from somewhere, but I couldn't figure out where I knew her from. I just knew that I knew this person from somewhere. I had seen her face before. I get through all of that. She seemed lovely, actually. I thought, okay, this is fine. You know, when you don't have anything to hide and what they're doing is actually completely wrong and there's no reason to be there, it's like you don't have anything to worry about. So it's like, okay, other than the fact that they're going to try to bill me for this, but I already knew that at least Nick and Shelby and my mother were going to be getting sued. Like at some point they were going to be getting sued for make things up and use the court to do that, despite whatever power you think you have by the backing of a cult, a secret society. You can't actually do that, especially when you're already committing fraud in the background and you just are using the court to get away with it. You can't actually do that. My ultimate goal, obviously, my business and the money that these disgusting creatures are holding on to for some reason I don't know, or feel like they have any kind of right to. It's like, how do you feel like you have a right to hold on to someone else's money, to take their business from them, and exploit them through stealing their identity. Like, these people are literally fighting over money that is not theirs, that they have no legal right to whatsoever. It's too much. It's hard to believe something like this could actually happen, but it actually does. It actually does. And maybe because they also have the power to take away the freedom of speech, they've canceled them actually so they can continue to exploit my content. But as soon as I start speaking out about what's happening to me to try to gain some advocacy, then they just false flag and then ban whatever platform that I create. So the guardian ad litem comes out. This man is 2 hours late for our appointment. He actually misses our appointment. He misses our appointment. Like, my time is not valuable to him. That's how arrogant and entitled these people are. He comes out, doesn't even look around, which he didn't need to because he also knew that the whole thing was completely fabricated. Spends the entire time literally arguing with me and bullying me about the previous bill from the previous request for his services through Nick. So I explained to him, I said, well, do you have a signed contract? Because I was advised by my attorney at that time not to sign that contract from you. And he's like, yes, well, we emailed it to you. And I said, well, as I explained before, I had my identity stolen. I had all of my accounts hacked numerous times. So you have to give me a little bit of grace in terms of the communication. I said, if you want to send me over another copy of the bill, I will take a look at it. And the contract that I signed, I will take a look at it. Obviously, right now, given that Nick's already taking more legal action, his only intention had nothing to do with my son. He barely didn't even ask me about my son. He did ask me about like child support payments and stuff like that. It's like, how is that any of your business? That's not what you're here for. That is not what you're here for. Why are you even asking me about this? This isn't child support court. Keep in mind, me and Nick were never married. Okay? If you don't understand how this works in the family court system, the child support is separate. It's separate of custody when you're not married. Okay, so if Nick had an issue with child support, which this likely boils down to, and also the money he thought he was going to get access to by getting custody of our son, man, to be sitting there intentionally trying to bully and create fear for a mother who is a great mother, when there are so many moms out here that are not taking care of their children, are actually harming their children, are selling their children, are abusing their children. And this attorney, Victor, whom previous to this, I don't have an issue with any of these people. I've been cooperative this entire time. I don't have anything to hide. I actually welcome anybody to come investigate me as a mother. I didn't request you. Nick requested you. And as far as I am aware, I never signed a contract with you. Which, by the way, I still never got a copy of that contract that I signed. I didn't even know what it was. And it's a different magistrate this time. I was never notified that there was going to be a change in magistrates or anything like that, but we go. And Nick wants to make a change to the visitation schedule. Keep in mind, they're only letting me see my son 3 hours a week on a Saturday, in the middle of a Saturday. I get no say-so in the visitation schedule. That in itself was harmful to William. To go from living with your mother, seeing your mother almost every single day, talking to your mom every single day, a 10-year-old, to only allowing a child to see their mother for 3 hours on a Saturday, for which I have to drive back and forth an hour because Nick made the choice to move an hour away. All of it was designed to make it as difficult and as inconvenient as possible on me, which in itself also is truly so disgusting. The fact that grown men, people who are given positions to protect families, to protect children, are capitalizing, using their positions as an opportunity to abuse a child and a good mother. These people should not have jobs. These people should not have jobs. It's absolutely insane to me that this can even happen. Lord knows how many other people that they have done this to. With William, where I had to be observed. It's like, what actual justification or proof do you have for that? You have no evidence of me ever harming my child. None. You have no actual justification for taking my kid from me. That is actual kidnapping. And as soon as it is proven that Nick and Shelby, my mother, and all of these people were doing this in an attempt to conceal the fact that they had already committed fraud and they have been holding on to money that belongs to me, as soon as this is found out, every single one of these people will have to be charged criminally. And that's set aside from the civil case that's going to happen for every single person involved in this situation. Because things like this end up happening because they're held accountable. You create a tiny little crack in a family courtroom for injustice to happen. One magistrate, two magistrates that are underqualified, misinformed, lazy. You find an attorney that knows which one and how to manipulate that system. You let that happen one time in a courtroom, and it opens the door for it to continuously happen. And then the entire system is completely useless. And it's a tool to be used through organized crime. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. Period. Not care how long it takes me to prove that. Hopefully I can generate enough support through this platform and the information that I'm sharing, obtain an abundance of legal counsel, people that would recognize the level of injustice and truly straightforward crime that has happened here. I mean, there's no back and forth. There's nothing. It's just straightforward abuse and targeting and crime. Did all of this and just used my name and the idea of me as a hologram to be able to get to whatever ending they actually wanted. I subsequently found out that the mental health evaluator, if that's what you want to call her, whoever she is, I believe she's been on reality TV shows before, was actually requesting to have the visitation scheduled because he was going to Hawaii. Taking away my rights, taking away my child's rights, violated so many constitutional rights for both me and both of my children. And with no evidence or proof to validate anything that he put into the motion. Like I said, I might as well not even have been there because they already had it pre-planned. Whatever agenda they were working for, it didn't matter what I said or did. And I just caught on to that very quickly. And whatever I said did not even matter. It didn't matter. And because I couldn't afford an attorney, which they already knew, which is why they attacked my finances specifically. And I believe that the reason God allowed this to happen to me is because of the level of injustice. Because they can't actually prove anything. There was no domestic situation between me and Nick. I had no addictions, no domestic violence, anything, no toxic relationships. I had a job, I had a home. I can definitely prove that my identity was stolen and that I was stalked and harassed. There's a dozen reports made in 3 different branches of government to prove how long I was advocating for myself and attempting to get help. There's also evidence of me working with advocacy groups and the Medina County Children and Family Services. Being transparent with everybody the entire time. I never had anything to hide. It's a joke. It's an actual joke, but at the very end of the day, what it comes down to is Nick and his corrupt, crooked attorney have literally no evidence or facts to back up anything they put in that original motion. That right there should tell you how corrupt this entire situation is. The fact that he didn't even have to prove anything. The fact that I didn't even have to be served a court date for that magistrate to sign an order. Proved for the visitation schedule to go through, and then the magistrate and Nick's attorney had this very strange back and forth dialogue about their anniversaries, and like, his attorney's like, yeah, I'm celebrating my 1 year, and then the attorney's like, oh yeah, we're going to, and like in the middle of a trial, y'all. It was like the most pathetic. I really felt like I was sitting in a courtroom watching like a play go on, but a really bad one. Like, I have seen 4th graders put on a better act than what I was seeing there. And at some point, I just recognized that this yet again was another attempt at like voodoo and witchcraft and black magic. When you have something like a courtroom to this level, where there's such an injustice going on, like nothing's based on any kind of reality or facts, and it's all based on trying to trigger you into a reaction. That's what they do. They want to program you by playing out this weird shit in your reality. It's like the most profound projection of gaslighting. If it sounds insane, it is. It actually is, which is why I won't stop talking about it until attention is shown, specifically on my situation. I know it happens all the time, but my situation and my son's situation and what's happening right now is such a great example, because of how far these people went, of the level of corruption that is happening. And the fact that the family court is participating in extortion, RICO crimes, fraud, and kidnapping. Because when you take a child from a parent, you traumatize that child, my other child and me, because you make choices because you think you're going to get some monetary benefit. There's consequences for that. Just because you think you can hide behind your little secret society doesn't mean that there's not consequences, especially if you do all of that to someone who is anointed. Hopefully, when God makes an example out of all of these people, that opens the doorway for officers of the court to be more mindful of what's happening in courtrooms. Speak up when you know something is happening that's corrupt. Don't allow these things to go on. But you're creating a curse within a courtroom. But I finally told the magistrate, I said, I'm not going to participate anymore in this. If all of you want to continue participating in witchcraft, because that's what's happening in this courtroom right now, everything that you are speaking on is based on lies and untruths. It is an intentional and direct effort to abuse me, traumatize me, and I'm already a victim. So essentially, you're just re-victimizing me. Nothing that has been said here is based on any kind of fact. Nick, his behavior, how many times he has made an effort to harm me in a covert way, through finances, through the legal system, through insurance policies. The fact that this is being allowed to go on and that he is not being held accountable for his behavior is absurd. But I am not going to participate in anybody in here abusing and traumatizing my little boy. I'm not going to do it. I said, whatever decision and choice you want to make, I'm fine with what God comes up with here. But I'm not going to participate in my kid being abused and traumatized. It makes me sick to my stomach that these people can actually look in the mirror every day and know what you are doing to such a precious little boy and a family for no actual reason besides your own greed. It just makes me sick. But I knew in that moment that God wanted me to just be quiet. Just be quiet. At one point, I just felt a hand on my shoulder and it was just like, okay. Because it was all, whatever they could use to twist a narrative. It's like if I would have sneezed in there, they would have found some way to twist that into something that I was doing that was wrong. That's how far they wanted to go. It was all like an effort to try to lower my vibration so that the voodoo and the witchcraft that they're doing in the background would stick to me. The magic that they're doing in the background. Try to curse me. For being a Christian. For being a Christian. And the fact that they already committed fraud and they think that they're going to get away with it. But they're not. And if anything that I was saying were untrue, they would be able to answer very basic questions. The only advantage that they have is that the heaviness of the corruption is being based on seats that they have in a legal setting. Right? It's like, I'm not going to walk right into something where they can put me in jail. And the judge already wanted to put me in jail for not showing up for freaking a pretrial that I was never served for. Then they want to put me in jail for not paying a bill for a contract that I never signed for the guardian ad litem. Like, they literally said they were going to issue a warrant if I didn't pay that bill. Do you see how far they're going? to put a good mother in jail through the family court system. These people should be in jail. And I truly just gave the whole situation over to God. I know they're intentionally targeting my finances. Even if they want to continue to lie, if I can't get the justice system that is upright, if it is corrupt to this level, that a child can essentially be trafficked into a satanic cult because they're not doing their job. So even if they're not directly involved, their lack of intervention is giving these people the ability to be able to enact whatever their plan is. So at that point, what am I going to do? What am I going to do besides pray and wait on God? This is why my faith is actually as strong as it is. Because people who are evil, essentially, this behavior is evil. There's no other way to look at it. People that enact all of this because my faith, my independence, my healing, my love, my energy, whatever, for whatever reason, they feel entitled. They actually feel entitled to even be like a part of my life, investigating my life. Like, why are you even in my business? Any of these people, you never get the help that they need. Like, it doesn't in any way, even knowing that Nick is going to have to face the consequences of what he did here, and Shelby too, and everybody else involved. But especially Nick, because Nick is still William's father. And there is no winning. Because I know no matter what, even though Nick is going to have to answer for the consequences of his actions, and I know God is going to pull up on all of these people, no matter what, it's still going to hurt William. And like, that's what I kept trying to express when I was expressing to Nick, to try to get him to get a hold of himself, like to actually open his eyes to see like how out of control he was behaving. But when you realize that somebody has already committed to a plan to harm you, like to actually get rid of you, there's no point in even saying anything else. It's like you have to let go so profoundly to be able to allow people to receive the consequences of their actions. You know, to let God's judgment come down on people. And especially when you're playing with black magic, it's like your opinion of me means nothing to God. That's your opinion. You don't have insight of my life. You're not even in my life. So how could you even formulate an opinion, number one? But most of the time, and this just applies across the board, if somebody's not in somebody's life and they're triggered to the point, continuously trying to take action against someone that has been separated from them for 10 years, once they're remarried. And again, my son is the only evidence that any of these people would need to know what kind of mother I am. Like it really just boils down to that. And anybody that would interact with my son is like, he is such a good kid. Like, he is just a beautiful child with a beautiful heart. And overwhelmed with that, because it's like, you see how narcissists and evil, you know, corrupt evil people who never have to answer for the things that they do, people who are completely detached from their own humanity, and they have the ability to affect a child who is beloved. Like, William is like the most precious thing in the world to me. Like, that I wouldn't do for him. Even in this situation, like letting go of this situation and not being able to talk or see my little boy. Like, it's horrific. Well, to know that these people are scaring the shit out of him every day. And like, they're forcing like his worst nightmare on him, you know. It's like very different if a child does have a parent that isn't there for them, or has a parent that's been absent, or has a parent that's an addict or something like that, you know. It's very different because that child in some capacity like understands why they're separated from their parent, right? But in this case, when you have a child who is very close with their mom, and like that's their like emotional support and comfort, and loves their dad too. Like, he loves both of us. And for Nick and Shelby to be so, like, evil to do this to him, and, like, people actually supporting them and doing it, and, like, their perception is so skewed. It's crazy. It's truly crazy to know that, like, any person could... It's just, it proves that they don't have an empathy switch. It's just wild. It's like, you cannot break every spiritual law, commit blasphemy, bear false witness over and over and over again, and let it go on and on and on and on. And the crazy part is like, there are definitely people who are supposed to be intelligent and part of the justice system. And when I tell you it's a whole group of people, I mean it's a whole group of people. There are people here that know what is happening, and they're not speaking up about it, which is so weird to me. I don't know if they feel like if they just move away or if they just don't participate, that it's not going to affect them. But I can say for 100% certain, if you are aware of what's happening, where a child and a mother, an injustice to this level, that, like, I had no participation in any of this, has literally, again, nothing to do with me. It has to do with a group of people who targeted me. My guess would be has a daddy or a mommy that works for the government. Maybe family connections within a church or cult of some sort. Maybe they're directly connected to the Jester Shriners. Maybe that's how they thought that they were going to get my inheritance, what was left to me. Maybe there's an inheritance I don't even know about, via my daughter's father, my own father, my grandfather's. Concern is the fact that, unlike these disgusting creatures, is my child, whom all of you don't care about. None of you. The fact that this is still going on right now is evidence of how little all of you care about William. Because all you're thinking about is your fake reputations, the money you're not keeping, the consequences that you're going to receive regardless. You're only thinking about yourselves. None of you are thinking about William. So not only are all of those other things going to happen, but it is going to make for a very easy order of protection to keep all of you away from me and my children. That's what you wanted.